When you live in a climate like New York and you find a plant that does specifically really well, like this plumeria, you just want to make more and more of them. I can't tell you how many times I've just cut a branch off of my plumeria, stuck it in some soil, and voila, I got a new plant. But that's not the case with this one. This fig tree is absolutely massive, almost to a fault. It produces figs twice every season, and that's uncommon here in New York. But I have tried taking cuttings of this again and again, and I have failed until I tried air layering. Basically, with this method, instead of taking a cutting off of a tree and letting it root in water or in soil, you are starting the cutting before you cut it off the tree. You want your future plant to make roots while it's still being fed by the mother tree. This is the only way that you can get a genetically identical plant that's going to fruit the same way as the mother. It's going to handle the same amount of cold as the mother. You got to take cuttings. So air layering is a great hack, and it works so well with fig trees. Here's how you do it. You really only need a few things. You probably have most of them in the house. First one is going to be foil. Trust the process on this. You also need a couple of clear plastic baggies. Pretty important that this is clear, but any small plastic baggie is going to work pretty well. You're going to need some rope tie, which I need to actually get from back in the house. I left that inside. I like using rooting hormone. I don't know if it's necessary, but it just gives me a little bit more confidence that you're going to get some roots. Sharp pruning shears. Every good gardener, or even anybody who just likes to garden, if you're a bad gardener, you should have these too. You need to have proper pruning shears. Makes a great gift for somebody who's into gardening. Sharp shears that are disinfected, because plants can get diseases just the same way we can, and the way that we're going to expose this plant would make it prone to diseases. So rubbing alcohol is what I use to just quickly disinfect this. And growing medium. A lot of people use sphagnum moss. I just happen to have some peat moss handy. Or if you want to be environmentally friendly, Coco Cure is an alternative to peat moss that is better for the environment. The ways that we extract peat moss releases a lot of carbon dioxide emissions, and we don't need that. We're trying to save the world with gardening. So, you know, if you have it, use it. But if you have something else, I would recommend that. So I'm selecting branches that are either in the way of my path, because I'm going to cut them off, or doesn't have a lot of fruit on it, because you don't want any fruit, because that's going to sap energy away. So if it has fruit on it, toss it. Sorry that I had to do that, but it's just going to save some energy. Now, I know this is going to sound really complicated, but I promise it's pretty easy. You're just going to want to go down maybe about a foot or so from the end of the stem. This is going to be the size of your cutting. The bottom where you cut is going to be the base of your new plant. This is going to be where the roots come out. I look for these little leaf margins, and you just want to lightly, just enough to kind of get the bark serrated, but nothing more than that. And you're going to do it again about an inch below that. There we go. This is why a sharp pruning shear is so important. And then we're just going to try and peel it off. This is going to be where the roots come out. So you want to just peel it off really light, really light. I don't even know if these pruning shears are sharp enough. I probably should have gotten a different type of pruning shear. Just want to expose all of the bark on all ends, but nothing more than just the bark. You want to expose that nice green stuff. This is where the stem cells of a plant are. These are the cells in the plant that can decide, oh, I want to be bark. Oh, I want to be roots. So when you expose this and put the rooting hormone in, it's going to tell the plant, hey, I want to be roots. And you're going to get some roots from here. I'm telling you, it's worked last year. I'm excited to get some more fig trees that are just like the mama plant. I feel like a mad scientist anytime I air layer. It's just so easy, but it's kind of scientific, and I love that about it. Okay, so here's my rooting powder. I'm just gonna dabble my hand, just a little bit of water, just like so. This water, this hose is running a little bit, there we go. And that's it. We're gonna dab my hand in this. Funny story, by the way, I actually dropped rooting hormone in my eye when I was a kid, and my parents had to call poison control. Turned out everything was all right, but if you're wondering why I wear glasses when I do this, it's because I'm still scarred. I don't actually think these glasses are doing anything to protect me, but childhood trauma is a weird thing. Look at all of that powder. Oh yeah. So hopefully now this is gonna say, hey, root, root, root. I'm rooting for you. So take some of this peat moss, and we have to hydrate it, because whatever you hydrate this peat moss with, that water is gonna have to stay in the peat moss for weeks. So do you see when you buy peat moss, it's super dry. All right, here we go. So my super dry peat moss, I'm just soaking in a pot with holes. I'm gonna have to let it sit for a little bit, because you see how it just like does not want to hydrate. That always happens. Dry soil mediums are very hydrophobic. They are not accepting that water right away. So you do want it to kind of sit in the water for a little bit like that. Just a beautiful bath. Oh, mud bath. People spend so much money on this. Oh, yes. I'm sorry, I am so unhinged today. I have no explanation. I took a nap before I did this video, so maybe that's why. Naps always wake me up. I love a little midday siesta. All right, you know what? While that soil is soaking, I'm gonna go grab a little bit of twine, and look, by the way, at the garden. Isn't she looking beautiful? I can't believe how many plumerias I have in bloom right now. That's why I kind of gave it a shout out in the beginning of this video. Just looks so nice. I'm so happy with the way that things are turning out this season. My hardy hibiscus are finally starting to come into bloom. The flowers are closing because it's getting a little late in the evening. Every day you get a new set of flowers. That's the beauty of hibiscus. Oh, and look at the yellow hibiscus that I got for $14. These beautiful topiaries. My mom loves yellow, so this is her backyard, and I'm just wanted as much yellow as possible for her, and I've got like about 7 or 8 blooms on this. It is just doing spectacular, and this is my first year using these nice black pots from Costco. I'm so dirty. Anyway. Right, I secured the twine. It's been about 10 minutes because I procrastinated, so let's see how our hydrated peat moss is looking. All right, this looks perfect. Well, it looks ugly, but it's perfect. It's a nice little wobble. So now we're gonna stuff this in our bags. All right, so we're back to our branch. I filled up our baggie, and I made sure that there weren't really any air holes in it, because what I'm gonna do next, this is so hard to show on camera though, is I'm going to just sort of take a little incision here. There we go. Just enough for the branch to kind of fit in. And this is the tricky part. Okay, I actually need to do it kind of around the whole entire, there we go. So it sort of like splits it in half. This is the part where I wish I had a +1 helping me today, but I am solo. Mom's out of town, and no one wants to be bothered with my plant shenanigans that's in town. So anyway, we're just gonna let it sit. I'm gonna pull the camera out, give you a wide view of what this looks like so far. And this is where our handy dandy twine comes in. By the way, I smell so bad right now. Not like in a gross way, in a really horrible bug spray kind of way, and I'm still getting eaten up alive. So these mosquitoes have officially adapted to bug spray, I guess, or they're just vicious in my parents' yard. I mean, they are superhuman. Well, they're not human, but you get it. All right, let's add some twine. I'm gonna pre-cut this. Thank you, Christmas Tree Shop. May you rest in peace forever for this contraption. You can buy them at other places too, but we got this from the Christmas Tree Shop. It's a New England thing, and like 5 places south of there, including here, but they're gone. Anyway, oh, look at that juice. Look at all of that juice coming out of this bag. Oh my goodness gracious. Don't wear white clothes. All right, so here's my handiwork. You can see I actually kind of created like a little hammock situation where I tied the bag to the branch, of course, but then I did a second piece of wire to just sort of hold this tiny branch upright. So I did that, and I tied it to a much sturdier branch higher up, just to give it a little bit of support. Now the aluminum foil comes in. All right, so you want to apply aluminum foil because this is going to kind of help keep the moisture in. It keeps the sun from beating down on the bag. You want the clear plastic bag because that's how you're going to tell if it's got roots. When it has enough roots, you'll actually see them on the outside of the clear bag trying to push out. So this aluminum foil is just so important because it really helps with sun protection, because you can't water that peat moss. Once it's in there, that's it. And you want to make sure that it does stay hydrated the whole time, or else it's going to fail. So that's how I do it. And this is what the finished product looks like. Just want to get it really nice and tight on there. Perfection. Isn't she pretty? Not bad, right? And it was pretty easy. Honestly, it took about like maybe 15 minutes to do one branch, and I'm gonna do 2 more branches. I try not to do more than 3 a year because you don't wanna like fill your entire plant with air layers. It takes a lot of energy for a tree to make roots above the soil line. So just do a few every year, give them to your only best friends, or ask for a lot of money. In my case, I'm just giving them to friends. But I hope that this was helpful. In a few weeks, this should be ready, August or September. I did this last year with a lot of success, so I'm expecting the same this year, but I just wanted to post this video early enough for you to do it, because once you get into like, you know, mid-late August, it's starting to wind down summertime. You need a lot of heat for a fig tree to produce roots for an air layer. So really you would want to do this sometime in July, August. By September, I think personally it's too late. The days are starting to get too short. You need about 8 weeks of really good growing weather. Not 8 weeks before your first freeze, 8 weeks of good growing weather in order for air layer to be as successful as possible. That's about it from one UFO to another unidentified foil object. Have a wonderful day. Happy gardening as always.